Hello!
Hello, hello, hello. This is my first Swedish chat show, so anything can happen. That's what we like about rock and roll, heavy metal, whatever you call it. So these guys up here are going to ask me certain questions, right? Which, incidentally, I must say, probably all of these questions, how many are there, like 1,000?
Like 62?
We had dinner last night together and we kind of talked about the history of the world, the history of heavy metal, the history of life and everything else. So it'll be fun and we hope you enjoy the things that are going to come out of my mouth instead of singing. Yeah. Let's begin, gentlemen. Who has the first question?
I can hit it. Warmly welcome, Rob, and we're so glad to have you here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. I've been coming to Sweden for a long time. You know, Priest has been together now for 42 years. We've been making heavy metal music for 42 years. Thank you. Thank you. And the simple fact is you can't do what we do, what all the bands do, without the incredible people that support us, you know, the fans that we have, not only here in Sweden, but around the world. They're part of the story, the life of Priest. So it's good to be here for Priest as well. Everybody in the band sends their love.
Oh, like that.
Okay, that's about as mushy as I'm going to get.
Yeah.
It's going to be heavy from now on.
We always try to find some sort of Swedish connection, of course.
Of course, yeah.
Do you have any Swedish connection?
Well, mostly with this great event, the Sweden Rock Festival, that we've been coming now for, I think, 3 or 4 times over the years. But before then, you know, thinking of the very early trips that Priest would make, musicians love to get out of the town that they were born and raised in, because that's the great escapism about music. When we listen to music, we escape, you know, we go to a different place. Whether you're listening to it in the car or whether you're at home, you know, you put a song on from your favorite band or your favorite artist, and if you've lived as long as me, and I think some of you have, you put a song on like Living After Midnight and suddenly you're back in 1981. So your music is like a time machine, and when you're a musician and you get the chance to travel, as we did in Priest, you get in the van, you drive to Newcastle generally, and you get on the ferry that takes you to Stavanger on the North Sea in the middle of winter. Yeah. You know, you stagger off overnight at the other end, and then you get in the van and you come to Sweden and you go to Denmark and Norway. So Scandinavia in general has been very much part of the life and history of Priest, but we always look forward to coming back to Sweden, and particularly Gothenburg, because this place has so much heavy metal. You know, this is a heavy metal capital right here. So lots and lots of memories over the years, yeah. And we're hoping for another one next time we come back with hopefully Sweden Rock next year, which we'll see.
You somehow showed up in Jonas Åkerlund's movie Spun. How did that happen? He's from Sweden.
It's great, you know, these things, I can't even drop this, you know, the emails are always flying. I can't remember the exact series of events that came to be, but I got an email telling me that Jonas Åkerlund was making this movie with Mickey Rourke, and it's called Spun. I didn't really know much about the backstory. It's a fantastic backstory about the writer. But he asked me, you know, would you like to be, well, yeah, I'm not going to say no. Firstly, it's Jonas Åkerlund, who's an amazing director, but it's also Mickey Rourke, who wouldn't want to meet this guy. I mean, we've all got our idols, and I get starstruck like everybody else. So we're getting ready for the big moment, and I go up like a few months early to meet Jonas. I went up from San Diego, where I live sometimes, to Hollywood, and to meet him, just to make sure it was all going to work, and it did. So then the day before I'm doing the movie with Mickey Rourke, I'm at home with the barbecue, cooking some pork chops, nice pork chops, get some sleep. Has anybody had the food poisoning? You know, the food poisoning. So here I am, I'm about to do one of the coolest things ever. At 3 in the morning, I'm like, whoa, you know, in the bathroom, and I'm like, oh, this is crazy. The next day I was so ill, I thought I had to call the whole thing up.
Yeah.
And I called Jonas, said, oh, Jonas, I'm so sorry, you know, I don't think I can make it. Oh, you've got it, we're on location, we've got everything arranged, we've got the crew, blah, blah, blah. So by sheer determination, I think it's heavy metal willpower, because we've all had those types of challenges. I was able to get in the car, and we had to stop every 10 minutes, but we finally got there and did this amazing piece with Mickey Rourke. But the thing about Mickey is a very imposing figure. He's a big guy, you know. So I pull up in the car, and he comes running over to me, and he has this little pug dog, little tiny dog. Andrew's, I'm Rob, are you okay? Come in, I've made you some soup, you know, we're going to get together. And so this is the first time I've met this huge, mega movie star, and he's being like a granny to me, looking after me, type of thing. So it was really, really sweet. And did the movie, and then, of course, when the piece came out, it was just a remarkable film, you know, the editing in particular. All the actors were tremendous, and I think it's already become kind of a cult classic. Yeah.
Do you have any, on the theme, do you have any Swedish friends except us, me and Daniel and Jonas then?
Do I have what again? Say it again.
Do you have any Swedish friends except Jonas and us?
Well, again, you know, in terms of fans, we have so many fans here, and we have a thing on the internet, the hashtag Priest Family, because that's what we feel we are. Your music is such a personal, emotional connection. You do become like an extended family with the music that you play and the messages that you send out to everyone. But there's 2 guys right now waiting for me back at the hotel with armloads of Priest stuff, you know, pictures and CDs and vinyl and stuff like that. So the fans are the lifeblood of what we do. So on a personal level, I think we have many, many strong friends that look after us and welcome us back each time we come into Sweden.
Talking on an event like this, have you done anything like this before?
No. This is my first. I feel like Madonna, like a virgin, you know. So this is one for the history books. It's probably going on blabbermouth in America right now as we speak. But it's great. I enjoy it. You know, most musicians have got something to say, some more than others, and because it's my job in the band to come up with these wonderful stories that we have in our songs, like a song like Breaking the Law is a very strong song. You know, it has a commentary, a social kind of commentary. Yeah. We wrote that song in around 1980, when in the UK there was a lot of discourse going on with politics. The coal miners were on strike, the dustbin men, garbage collectors were on strike. There was a tremendous amount of unsettled feelings, much like what's going on right now, unfortunately. So, you know, for singers, if you're also the lyricist, you're full of ideas, and you're using your language and you're using your brain to communicate and send out what you do. So Breaking the Law is one of many, many hundreds of Priest songs. Most of them are fantasy, most of them are escapism. Nearly all of them are very uplifting. You never, I think you'll very rarely, if ever, find a Priest song that has a negative element to it. We're always writing songs that have a lot of uplifting kind of constructive elements to them, rather than tearing things down. We're always talking about finding a way to make things better and building things up. So I've waffled on. What was the question again?
If you have talking on an event like this before.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I think I've answered that one.
Yeah.
Is this guy going to get a word in?
Yeah,
Now it's my turn. Of course, everyone is interested in a rock life like yours. How does an ordinary weekday look like for you?
Well, this is where I use my keeping it real thing, because if I couldn't take my shopping trolley round my supermarket every week, I would go crazy. Yeah. You know, it's very easy. Well, not easy, but I think depending on your celebrityism, is that a word? Celebrityism. It can be very difficult. I have some very, very famous friends who cannot leave the house. You know, they have to be in a cocoon because they're so famous, and I don't know how they do it. You know, But for me, and particularly from my background, my upbringing, I'm from a little working class town. And so I think the way I was raised by my mum and dad and my family, you know, keeping yourself grounded and being responsible and being grateful, that's the main thing, to be grateful of the great things that you get from hard work, keeps me in that place, you know. So yeah, I have to do things like that, you know. I have to get on my knees and scrub the toilet. That's important to me, you know, even though I might be singing Breaking the Law while I'm doing it, you know. It's part of keeping it real, yeah.
We know you have properties all over the world, but where do you call home today?
You know, we were talking in the green room about the way the things like this, and the internet particularly, I think a lot of us said when the internet became what it became, it was like a double-edged sword for certain people, depending on what they did in life, and particularly for music. You know, it's still a very challenging type of medium to find a balance with, because a lot of our work is quite literally stolen, you know, and I feel more for younger bands that are trying to make headway and trying to get, you know, a little bit of money to buy petrol to put in the van, or a little bit of money to buy some food after a show. It's difficult, you know. We really have to find a way that everybody's treated fairly. And so in that respect, everywhere I go feels like home, you know. There's just this thing that comes with being blessed with being a musician and a traveller that makes the world a very, very small place. No matter where I go, I can walk around Gothenburg and feel very, very comfortable, very, you know, very relaxed that this is where I want to be. And so it's all has special feelings. I've lived quite a bit of my life in America, and I think that goes back to when I was a kid. When I was growing up watching the little black and white TV set, you know, and you'd watch the Western movies, and anything that was coming over from Hollywood was infectious to me even as a child. So when I got to America in 1976, I think it was, getting off the plane at JFK and getting into a taxi and going into New York City, it was like a dream. It was just so incredible. And I've just had this love affair with the American way of life, and it's a learning curve for a lot of people. Depending on how you view America and American people, you know, it can either be great or it can be quite tricky. But I love it over there, and I think just from a musical point of view, it's tremendously exciting. There's a lot of great stuff that happens in the States, and there's this efficiency thing. There's this 24/7 thing. Because I don't like to sit around too much. I like to keep busy. I like to keep doing something, you know. So, you know, everywhere is great. Yeah, for sure.
Do you work on any exciting projects right now?
Well, we're working on a new Priest record. Yeah. Yay, another Priest record. Yes. I don't know which one this is. We're into double digits now, aren't we, I think, including the live recordings. And it's great, you know, as I was just saying a few minutes ago about being grateful about where you're able to go and do what we're still doing 4 decades later. The thrill about writing music, and I would say the same thing about a book writer or a movie maker or anyone that's creative, and it really goes through life in general. No matter what you do in life, there always has to be some kind of creative spark, some creative connectivity. It's not just music, it's not just in culture and creative arts as such. Everybody has to be on board together for a project. And in this case, it's a project to make a new Judas Priest album, which comes with this song, this song, this song, this song. So it all comes together. So the actual ethic of team spirit, you know, of respecting each other and kind of feeling each other out for the ideas to bring all of the substance that you need to make a project successful is the same thing when you're making a song. You know, right now with Priest, as we've done for a long time, it's three guys, it's 3 musicians. In this case, it's Glenn and Richie on guitars and myself. And we sit together at the start of a day and we have absolutely nothing. There's nothing happening, you know, there's nothing coming through the speakers, there's nothing coming through the amps. but then something will begin, a riff, a melody, whatever it might be. And that to me is the most exciting kind of privileged part of being a musician, because at the end of the day, you could have the components of a song that you'll go on then to record, and that song's going to be there forever. You know, again with this thing, whatever we do, when it gets onto this thing, it's for eternity. It's never going to get lost. So, yeah, we're making new music, and we always say it'll be ready when it's ready, because we are perfectionists, and we have this tremendous line of material behind us that we cherish. It's like a treasure, and we want to make sure that wherever we go next, it has an equal level of quality. You know, it's all about quality rather than quantity with Priest. So, yeah, expect more Priest.
Thank you so much.
How was it growing up in Britain in the 50s?
Well, I can remember, I mean, I was born in 1951, World War II ended in 1946, 5. So there was still a little bit of rationing going on in the UK, and Europe was rebuilding itself, obviously. And but I think out of most terrible conflicts like that, there's always hope, especially when you achieve peace in the world, no matter what. There's always hope, and there's always this thrilling feeling of being able to rebuild, not only rebuild the things that have been brought down, but just rebuild your lives and your families and the economy and everything else, you know. So I'm kind of grateful that that's when I was born, because I lived through that, and particularly as we went into the 60s. God, does anybody remember the 60s, or are other people here that were around in the 60s? That was so exciting for musicians across the board, particularly in the popular sphere of music, because I still loved the Beatles and the Stones, you know.
Yeah.
We had the two opposites there. The Beatles were the lovable kind of boys that you would take home to your mum, and the Rolling Stones were the one where you would barricade the house and don't let them get in, you know. So had the great opportunity of living and growing through that particular musical period. So yeah, it was good, you know. And again, family, a great family, a lot of love and a lot of support for any of us that had ideas as we were getting older to try this or that in life. So really cool, and mostly in music, I really cherish it, because I learned my craft from some of the greatest singers ever, you know, whether it's Robert Plant or Jagger or Ian Gillan or Mindblock. That's not a person. Just these people that I kind of honed my ability on as a singer, you know. And I think the same when you speak to Glenn, our guitar player, he will say that he learned his craft from very serious, very accomplished professional musicians. And I think if there's anything that I wish there was more of today, and this is by no means you know, dissing out new bands, it's the fact that, you know, it isn't about really banging something together quickly to get it on the radio or to get it on a record. It really is about putting the time and the effort and the passion into the work that you do. And on a technological side of that, I think we found again with these incredible things like Pro Tools in the studio, it's very easy to fall into this trapped world of like cut and paste, cut and paste, cut and paste. You're not playing through the whole song. You're not getting the spirit and the soul into the music, you know. And so that from a musical point of view, growing up as I did in the 60s and going to the studios with a reel-to-reel tape, you know, and when you made an edit, you did it with a razor blade and you just hoped you got it on the right beat. It was very risky. Yeah, the musical side of growing up was something I really cherished, because I carry that with me in my head all the time, all those great songs, those great stars from that time of year, that time of generation.
What dreams did you have when you grew up?
Dreams?
Yeah, was it being a rock star?
No, I don't think. No, I don't think of my. No, I don't think I've ever become a rock star. Quite frankly, I think that's a great little phrase that has been created for people that become successful. I think I just wanted to be a professional musician. You know, I wanted the ability to be able to do something that I really love, and I still do love. I think it's tremendous when you have the blessing to be able to do what you want to do in life. You know, I think that's a real joy. So that dream for me became a reality, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, why did you start singing? Do you remember that? And when was
Okay.
it? Yeah.
We're going to be here all night, guys.
No,
No, these are great questions. I love these questions. When I was about 7 or 8, could have been 6, my school was putting together a choir for the first time. So the school teacher, when we had the music class for that particular day, she would bring each kid to the front of the class, and while the rest of us were making notes or doing about music, we had to sing a song, or she would ask us to sing a song while she played the piano. So I sang this song. It was a Scottish folklore song. And she was playing, and then she stopped playing. I think it was a bit like Britain's Got Talent, you know, where Sweden's Got Talent. You have that, Sweden's Got Talent, and the judges go, oh my God, you know. But there was obviously something happening, and she then took me round to 3 or 4 different classes and brought me into the class and said, you want to hear this kid sing? Yeah. So I was singing a cappella, just singing out, you know, and everybody would clap. So that, you know, kids love to be, you know, cherish your kids, show your kids as much love as you possibly can. And in this case, all my schoolmates were clapping and cheering, and what a great feeling that was. So that really was I think a catalyst for me to think that I've got this gift, thank you Lord, to use my voice and just to, you know, make a communication with it. So that really is my very earliest memory. And then from then onwards, you know, school choirs and plays and performances.
How did you slide over to heavy metal later on?
Just a journey. I think a lot of us, particularly in our teenage years, you know, when we're going through that, I hate everything, I hate school, I hate you, you know, but I love my music. And you find that the music is the thing that draws you into it. And so I was becoming increasingly drawn towards the heavier, louder types of music that were coming through, particularly, again, the late 60s. You know, the music was getting louder, technology was enabling guitar players to turn up, amplifiers were being made. Jim Marshall was making these incredible things, and Les Paul was making, you know, the first ever electric guitars, and everything was getting louder and really capturing, again, I think the spirit of the 60s was being fine-tuned into a really loud statement. So that's where it was for me. I went through a phase. For a while I loved soul music and anything that had like R&B, definitely the blues. I still love the blues. That's on my bucket list, is to make a blues album. But to actually hear that loud type of thing coming at you is tremendously exciting. So I had the opportunity to get into some of those very early primitive bands, and that's what really started it in a serious way.
How did you meet Judas Priest?
Okay. Well, the original singer was leaving the band because his wife told him to get him a real job. Get a real job. I've got to put the food on the table for these kids. That's funny, but it is a fact, you know. So at the time, Ian was dating my sister, and when my sister found out that Priest needed a singer, I was the one that was. Have a go, Rob, have a go. So I had a go and I got in. Yeah.
Okay. How was it making the first 2 records with Judas Priest?
We were just talking about this earlier in the green room. When you're a new band, it's really important to struggle, because struggling, I think, not only in music or in anything that you believe in, that you have a dream about, if you struggle, I think it just becomes so much more rewarding when you finally are able to get to that place that you're striving to get to. And again, particularly when you're doing it along with people that become like your brothers in life, in this case with Priest. So we had the first record deal, which was practically nothing, but we were sent down to London to make this first record at Island Studios. I'm not sure if it's still there, it's somewhere in London. But we had so little money, so little budget, we had to do the night shift. And by that I mean that we would sleep all day in the van outside the studio, and then we would go to work at 9 o'clock at night, and we would work for 12 hours from 9 o'clock at night to 9 o'clock in the morning. Then we would leave the studio and have a cup of tea and a sandwich and then get in the van and fall asleep. And that's the way we made that first album. And so even when I listen to those songs now from Rock'n'Roller, that first Priest album, it's always full of that memory, you know? And it's tremendously satisfying because it was difficult to do. Who makes music like that? It just seems crazy, but you have to do whatever you need to do to make something become a reality. So that first record is a very important one in the repertoire of Priest's music, yeah.
How did you market the band back in those days? There were no internet, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you make a record. I remember the Postman bought it. We all had one each. We made the album and the label said, we're going to send you a record. And we thought, oh, we'll get a box each. But we had one album each. And the postman had to knock on the door because he couldn't push it through the letterbox. It was vinyl. So I opened the door and there it is, you know. And it's the biggest thrill in the world to open up that box, that envelope, and there is the record that you've made. It's incredibly satisfying. And yeah, to make music that way, and then how do you transport this information to different parts of the world? In the UK at the time, I think there were maybe one or two magazines. One was NME, New Musical Express, which I think is still around. There was another one called Sounds. And I always remember a reviewer said about Rock'n'Roller something to the effect of, this is a pile of shit, don't lose your day jobs, guys. You know, just do this as a hobby. I cut that out and I kept it all these years later because I don't know what happened to that, a journalist. But so what I'm saying is it was a very, very slow process to get the information, not only in your own country, but how do you get it to the rest of the world? It was a real slog, you know. And again, you cherish that that growth because it's not instantaneous. Yeah. It's a very slow growth pattern that brings people into your music, into the Priest world, as we call it, and slow and steady. It took about 12 years, I would think, before Priest got international kind of traction. It didn't really start to happen in the big time until British Steel, which is around 1980, 81. Yeah.
But then success came, and you got later on the nickname Metal God.
Metal
How did that
God.
happen?
I can't remember I don't know whether a fan said that or whether a journalist said that, but it's great. I love it, you know, and I'm not the metal god, like I said, when I'm scrubbing the loo or pushing the trolley around the supermarket, but I am when I go out on stage. I don't feel like him right now because I'm not, you know, I haven't got this noise around me from Priest, but definitely I loved it, you know, and I've actually trademarked the name Metal God, much like you've trademarked Pirate Bay, the thing you was telling me earlier on. So it's great. It makes you think as I'm getting dressed to get ready to go on stage. You know, there's a bit of a transformation. There's a bit of a psyche, a kind of getting ready to go out and do the best that you can possibly do. And knowing that I'm this figure called the Metal God is a tremendous asset. Yeah.
Why do you think Judas made it? What do you think the reason behind it? Was it the right time, or?
Yeah, I think it's all about the right time, isn't it? Again, I think no matter what we do in life, when we have something that we want to share with the public, something happens, whether it's luck or whether it's just the stars are aligned, or somebody takes a phone call, or somebody reads an email, or somebody tells somebody else about something. That was the case with Priest. Admittedly, again, when you look back, we were the first band of its type making that kind of music. There were very few heavy metal bands, and we wanted to make that perfectly clear from day one that that's who we wanted to be known as. It was Judas Priest, and we're a heavy metal band. You know, we play heavy metal music, and because it was a new expression, it's again, it's just part of the process of introducing yourself into people's lives, and it was quite challenging. We'd do American tours, and we'd open up for bands like REO Speedwagon. You know, REO Speedwagon is headlining. Priest comes out and starts playing "Victim of Changes," and everybody's in the front row going like this. Who are these guys? Get them off, you know. Or with Molly Hatchet or 38 Special. We were opening up for like country bands.
Never heard of them.
Yeah, well, just look it up on. I'll lend you my phone. All of these bands that you would think it's just not going to work, but that again, I think, is self-belief. We're going to go out, and you've never heard of this band before, but we're going to win you over. We're going to make you go, that was pretty good, you know. I want to check this band next time when I get a record, so on and so forth. So. Yeah, and I think even now, you know, I mean, you can never stop growing when you have something to share with people. There's always an opportunity to have, just even if it's one person that has never heard of Priest, and there are people that haven't heard of Priest still. This is a great way, so check us out, you know, listen to what we do, and it's a tremendously satisfying moment when you've got that connectivity happening.
Everyone who has been to shows knows it's very special. Why is it so special?
Why is it so special?
Yeah, your shows, live shows.
Well, I think for all of us in Priest, it's when you become truly alive. You know, I mean, it's very difficult to. Everybody can sing, right? If you sing in the shower, you feel great. Don't you feel like that when you start singing? It's the most beautiful thing in the world. You feel it in your body, in your soul, in your spirit. It's the most wonderfully elevating, almost spiritual experience. And so for me as a singer, that really for me is when I feel truly alive. And I know it's the same with Glenn and Richie and Scott and Ian. When we collectively start bashing away, you just, this is the reason why I'm here. This is why I'm on this stage now. This is destiny, this is fate, whatever you want to call it. This is why I do what I do. Because it's the greatest feeling in the world, definitely.
In '91 on the Toronto show, the Painkiller tour.
Yes.
You ride with a Harley. Tell that story. Yeah.
Yeah, I was coming out on the well, we were playing like a baseball stadium in Toronto, and the dressing rooms were in where the baseball players get changed, and so we had to take golf carts to the stage, which is in the middle of the venue. So we're finishing off getting ready, and then the intro tape started, and we're all panicking like, you know, chickens with their heads cut off. Everybody was bumping into each other and pulling the pants on and putting the guitars on. We all jump onto these golf carts, and some of us get to the stage before others because, you know, when you're in a band, it's like a bunch of kids. You want to see Judas Priest in an airport? I'm walking that way. Glenn's walking that way. You know, we're all we need somebody to corral us. You know, put us all together. Go in this direction. It's gate 3B. So we all got to the stage at different moments, and I remember the start of the show. The drum riser was quite high up, and there were a bunch of steps that rose up during the first part of the intro tape, and I would get on the bike and ride out. Well, in this instance, because only two of us were on the stage, we were telling the sound guy, turn the tape off and start it again. So there was massive confusion. Anyway, I cut a long story short. I go roaring out on the bike just as the steps are coming down, you know. And I think if you look on YouTube, because everything's on YouTube, there's a little tiny clip of me coming out, and the bottom step hits me right on the nose. And I flip off the back of the bike, knocks me out. And the opening song was Hellbent for Leather, and that was the only time it was an instrumental, because I wasn't, you know, it was the only ever time you'll hear an instrumental version of Hellbent for Leather. But as I was coming around, I could feel Glenn kicking me, you know, because it was also, incidentally, there was like dry ice. The whole stage was covered in smoke and dry ice. So I can feel somebody kicking me, and I look through the smoke, and it's Glenn, and he picks me up. And anyway, we got through the show, and they took me to hospital afterwards, and I had whiplash and blah, 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 blah. But as Freddie said, the show must go on, and that's what it did, yeah.
You can sing very loud and variating. I don't know if everybody has heard Rob, but can you take a tone, and how do you maintain your voice?
Well, the voice is a muscle like any part of your body, and it gets fatigued, particularly when you've been doing it as long as I have. There's obviously technique that's involved, and I'm sure it's the same with everybody in the band. You know, Glenn plays guitar a certain way that new guitar players would find difficult, so it's a learning experience. But for singers, it's rest. It really is getting as much rest as you possibly can. What I'm doing now, I never do on tour. I rarely speak. I just save my voice for the performance. And again, it's just an accumulated amount of wisdom that you get as a musician that makes you able to do what you do. But I don't know. I mean, I just open my mouth and sing. It just happens.
If you were interviewing yourself, what question did we miss today that you'd like to ask yourself?
Oh Lord, I wouldn't know. I've been asked thousands and thousands of questions over my career, and I think everyone's been pretty much asked. You know, I could say, what are we doing for dinner afterwards? I mean, Burger
We're doing
King,
the atmosphere
Burger
and
King.
the helix.
Pardon?
We're doing the atmosphere and the helix after this one.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
We need to have a business question too. Dee Snider was here and talked about some life lessons he shared. Do you have any life lesson you want to share us business-wise that we can think
Well,
about?
I think I touched on it a little bit about 20 minutes ago about this understanding of when you're in a team. You firstly, I think it's respecting each other's talent, respecting each other's abilities, having the confidence in one another as well. I really believe in team leaders. I think it's always important to have a focal point, because you need to have direction. You need to have somebody to go to say, are we on the right track, blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, it's obviously passion for whatever you might be doing, and it's everybody believing in whatever you're trying to accomplish. And I think compromise as well. You know, there has to be a degree of compromise, because a team stays together strongly if there is all of those elements. So it's being able to compromise, it's being passionate about what you do, it's respecting each other, it's having the same focal point to achieve whatever it may be. So I think all of those combined pretty much run through whatever you do in life in a work sense, because Priest is a working band.
Yeah.
This is what I do, this is my job. I'm a singer in a heavy metal band, and we are a working band. You know, we've been working pretty much non-stop for over 40 years. So all of that team spirit, if you want to call it, is very, very important.
We have short of time, so only 2 questions left. But one, the theme today is actually breaking the law, of course.
Yes.
Do you have anything on that theme? That question we must ask.
Breaking the law? Have I broke the law?
Yeah.
Oh, I broke the law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lawsuits or whatever.
I mean, one of them was a life lesson, which eventually ended me from drinking and drugging. I've been clean and sober for 30 years this year. So, thank you all. And that's important to me. So, you know, I've been there. You know, I was in my red Corvette going from my local rockers club full of beer, and took the on-ramp onto the freeway, and woo, 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 you know, here we go. And the cop pulls me over and looks in, he knows it's me. All right, Rob, yeah, I'm fine. Where have you been? Oh, just been to see some friends. Well, when you've been drinking, you never think of this incredible vapor that's coming out of your mouth, especially if you've been drinking all night and it's 3 a.m. So anyway, I did the breathalyzer and failed it, and was thrown in the tank in Phoenix in the local prison. It was quite a remarkable experience, actually. It's the first and last time I'll ever be in a jail cell. But I went in, and it was about 2 a.m, and it was empty. I had it to myself. By 5 a.m, it was packed. Everybody was in there. We were all bumping into each other and pissing in a bucket, you know, and where am I, what am I, that kind of thing. So that was definitely, you know what they call life lessons? That was a life lesson for me. And I always remember I was with this Native American guy, and Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who you may have heard because he's globally famous. Some of us like him, some of us don't, because he's a very hardcore, you know, shoot from the hip Western cowboy sheriff. The only thing we had to eat was 2 slices of white bread with a piece of salami in the middle.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, they give you that on a paper plate, but they also give you like a little pouch of tobacco and a match, and I've never told this story before, a match and a couple of rolling papers. So we're all given that, and I'm sitting next to this huge Native American guy, and he looks at me, because everybody knows me, you know. Robbie goes, are you going to smoke those? That's cigarette smoke. So, no, I don't smoke. I go, are you going to eat that sandwich? He goes, no. I said, well, I'll swap you your extra sandwich and you can have my smoke. So I'm sitting there eating 2 salami sandwiches, and this Native American guy is puffing away in these roll-up cigarettes. But then, you know, you wake up in the cold light of day, and it was the summer in Phoenix, so, you know, they take you to the judge, and it's embarrassing. It really is embarrassing. So the judge, you're given a number, it's blah, blah, blah. And I remember my tour manager at the side, as I walked in, he was there, and he was like, like, I knew this was going to happen, this is it. Jim Sylvia Jane. And anyway, they said, you know, you've got to see the judge in about a week. And then they lead you through these corridors, and they open a door, and you're suddenly in the middle of Phoenix in the street. And it's like broad daylight, and it's like 120 degrees because it's in the middle of summer. And that's it, you know. And I thought, oh, Jim, my tour manager, will be there. Didn't show up. So I think I had to hitchhike back to my house because I had no money, and you know, it was a complete life-changing lesson. So yeah, that's a memory I cherish.
Oh, that was living after noon instead of living after midnight.
That's right. Yeah, definitely.
We have a new thing. We will probably have a friend of you in the future here. So now we have the chance to give a question to the next speaker. It will probably be a rocker, of course.
Oh, okay.
And we will pass it from you, that question, and then we will send you the answer.
Well, I like this one, and you probably heard this a million times. It's a very famous movie that kind of spoofs what we do in rock and roll. It's a movie called Spinal Tap. And that's a great movie. In fact, just a little quick side story. I actually met Chris, the blonde-haired guitar player, yeah. Chris Guest, is that his name? Or am I getting confused? I met him when I did a record for my dearly departed friend Ronnie James Dio when we did Hear Stars. So we all went to a studio off Sunset Strip, and Chris was there, but he was in character. He would not come out of character. He was the Spinal Tap guy. Oh, you guys, you all think you're big stars. You wouldn't be anywhere without Tap. Tap without Priest, without Spinal Tap, there'd be no Priest, there'd be no Don Dokken, there'd be no Ronnie Dio, and he's like being really, you know, totally in role. So I think we can ask the next guy, tell us your best Spinal Tap story. And that could be anything. That could be anything, because it's happened to me. I'm going, hello, Cleveland, and we're in Detroit, you know? Nobody...
Thank you, Rob. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
So
I hope you had fun. Thank you. Thank you.